Hello and welcome to section 3.5, Driving Business Value. This is the last section in Unit 3, and we'll be looking at value drivers, what is business value and how to drive it, how to align with business goals, all of the work that we do, how to measure the impact of that work, and building a business case to be able to secure sponsorship from the right stakeholders to undertake AI adoption and data science use case implementation and deployment. So let's begin. What is business value? Well, quite simply, it's a measure of organizational health. And it's not only economic value or profit or revenue. Business value can have an indirect impact on economic value and can certainly drive profits and revenues and amongst other things. The difference here is that business value can also be intangible. Examples include customer centricity, customer satisfaction, intellectual capital, risk minimization, prediction and forecast or projecting ahead of time, optimizing pricing strategies using data, growing customer base using personalization, improving staff productivity and satisfaction levels, or even improving process efficiency, cost cuts and cost efficiencies, as well as increasing sales. All of this may be the direct impact of work that you do as data scientists by implementing a solution, developing a model that is bringing some business value to the organization. So how do we drive value for the business? Well, as data scientists, you need to first be able to do stakeholder management. And this is quite important because all of the work that we do has direct impact on the business and the commercial teams and all of the various functions of the business, not only on the technical departments, the IT department or the data teams, for instance. And in doing so, you should first be able to identify the right stakeholders for the work that you're doing, and this may be different for different use cases that you're working on. Develop relationships with those, create a stakeholder map, socialize with them, and be able to influence leadership with the right kind of empirical observations and insights that you bring from the data. You can only do this if you really understand the business to a good enough degree that you're able to engage those stakeholders in conversation, in meaningful conversations. You can also drive value by understanding the processes of the business, creating a process map, understanding how these processes might be improved by the work that you do. Perhaps a model that you've developed is able to be integrated in an existing process and speed up the work by X percentage. For this, you'd have to build a business case, and more on this later in this section. The third thing that you can do is do literature review and R&D, stay abreast of the updates in the industry, the trends. You can also definitely will have to align with the policy, the vision, the strategy, and the initiatives of the business. The more aligned you are, the more amenable the stakeholders and sponsors will be to lend you an ear, listen to the work that you've done and the results that you've brought, and sponsor the project, the program, or the initiative. Another thing, of course, and one of the major factors that you can use as value drivers for the business is ROI, of course, and for this you'll have to build some proof, perhaps some early results from your models, empirical results, build that business case, integrate and deploy, and actually roll that out for the business users, whatever use case, MVP, POC it is that you've developed. And finally, budget approvals. To be able to actually undertake the work and implement something, you'll have to convince sponsors. So how do we align data insights with business goals? First, you need to understand the company's strategic goals. Are they focused currently on market share increase or increasing operational efficiency or cost cuts? Whatever it is, it may be a combination of those. You need to align the data findings that you're bringing from your analysis with business objectives so that you can make sure that your story or your data narrative is relevant to the audience. The third thing is estimate the potential impact of those insights on achieving business goals. And this is now building towards a business case. And we'll look at an example as well. So let's say that the business goal is that your company is increasing or wanting to increase market share in the retail sector. The data insight could be that you go and check high customer churn rate in the loyalty program and find out why this is happening. The action then could be that you implement targeted marketing campaigns with the marketing team to retain existing customers with some incentives. And then you can measure the impact to see if there's an increase in customer retention or a decrease in customer churn rate. And you can also see if you have actually increased the market share as well. Measuring impact is very important because this is one of the key findings and evidences that you will be able to convince stakeholders. So in order for us to measure impact, we need some kind of metrics or indicators, key performance indicators or KPIs. We need to identify these so we can actually measure the success of some data-driven initiative. For instance, it could be revenue growth, it could be cost savings, it could also be customer satisfaction. You need to track progress and be able to convey and communicate this progress, so you can use dashboards or reports to monitor this performance and communicate and share that with the right people. And you need to regularly review these results so as to be able to improve continuously and adjust strategies based on the new data and feedback as it is received. Some examples of very important business value drivers can be efficiency, as we've seen. It could also be adaptability, product adaptability or service adaptability to the market or as it evolves. Agility, improving the process by which you're rolling out a product or manufacturing a product, for instance. Data security or data privacy could also be business value drivers. It could improve reputation in the market, in the customers about the company. Innovation and efficiency, as we've already seen. Customer centricity, we've mentioned as well. And then cooperation, coordination, collaboration. The more the silos in an organization are broken amongst the departments and teams, the more they are likely to cooperate and coordinate and even collaborate and produce better results together. So let's look at a business case template. This is one way in which you might develop a business case based on the insights you've gleaned from the data as part of perhaps a proof of concept prototype. So the first thing you should do is to have an executive summary as part of your business case, because more often than not, the senior leadership that will sponsor your use case, MVP development, for instance, would need a summary of your business case. In this executive summary, which covers the outline of the project, the objectives, aligns it to the strategy and the vision of the company, provides an overview of the estimated costs and the potential benefits, and proven evidence to support your claim. The next thing in your business case should be business objectives, where you prove or show and demonstrate how you support the organization's overall mission. So the suggested use case and the business for which you're developing the business case needs to be in line with the strategy, the overall mission, and the vision of the company. Align your project with the data and analytics strategy and initiatives. For instance, they might be focused on improving customer engagement. Does your use case support and contribute to that? Or could be cost reductions. It could be a number of things, and you can show alignment with one or more objectives. You then move on to the main body of the business case, where you establish the need for this particular project for which you're seeking approval and sponsorship. So you state the problem, identifying the current data challenges. Perhaps it has to do with silos in the organizational departments or poor quality of data. Explain the impact of this current state on operations and performance, and use the metrics and KPIs you've identified to illustrate this problem's scope. And also, if this project is to be approved and you develop the solution and roll it out, you should state the potential benefits of that. You then move on to the proposed solution, which is where you explain the specific activities you will undertake, the resources that are required, what are the deliverables that you will be producing. Address the identified challenges with this solution they are proposing, and introduce any new technologies, tools, methodologies, models, solutions, etc. You then give the list of KPIs that you're going to be looking at, perhaps give justification in terms of their relevance to this use case, the business case, and the solution. And then you move to the second main chapter or section of the business case template, the return on investment, ROI. So you move on to benefits and ROI and detailing how this will pan out if your project is approved. For instance, you might say that this solution that you're proposing is it going to improve data quality and faster insights, or is going to break down data silos because it's a tool that is going to integrate departments and make data sharing seamless, data duplication, redundancy might improve as well, and so on and so forth. You need to quantify impact using various metrics that are related to the business, for instance, increased revenue, improved satisfaction, etc. And based on this current state and the costs and the revenue and profits or whatever metrics you've selected at the moment and in the current state, and the potential gains that the company will see if this project is approved. And you base your calculation of the expected ROI considering the financial and non-financial benefits. You should move on to then cost estimation and provide a breakdown of costs. Maybe you need some personnel or human resources, a team, you need some software licenses or maybe some hardware, and you have to justify the investment based on the potential benefits and ROI. Finally, you highlight risks. You should show that you're aware of the major and minor risks. You identify those, list those out. Perhaps data privacy is one, technical limitations is another. And then develop mitigation strategies and highlight those as well, how you're going to be targeting and addressing these risks. Perhaps data privacy can be dealt with by introducing data governance and user training. Also, you should consider external factors. We've looked at this in previous units as well. Anything that we do perhaps has some overarching policy or strategy that is guiding the work. And therefore, if the use case that you're working on has some overlap or interaction with regulations or policy, then there is definitely a need for us to include this in the document for the business case, for which we're looking at an example template. And finally, you give the implementation plan, which is going to tell how long it will take, what are the key milestones, what will be the deliverable, define roles and responsibilities of team members, etc., etc. So let's take an example and follow this template that we've looked at. On this slide, we see the executive summary for a project that is titled Customer Analytics Enhancement. The objectives are to implement a customer analytics platform that makes use of data and improves personalized marketing and inventory management. The expected benefits are a 20% increase in customer engagement, a 15% reduction in inventory costs, and improved sales forecasting accuracy. We estimate that the initial investment is required at $150,000, and the annual costs for operational expenditure will be $30,000 per annum. And we say that the impact of this project will be such that the organization's ability to analyze customer behavior will be enhanced and improved, will optimize inventory, and will be supporting marketing campaigns with data-driven decisions. We then move on to the second section, as you might recall from the previous slide, business objectives alignment. We show how this project aligns with the strategy. It leverages data for strategic decision making, it improves customer experiences. How does it contribute to business goals? Will enhance customer engagement through personalized marketing and streamline inventory management. How does it support the mission of the company? We want to provide customers with a tailored shopping experience. It should increase their satisfaction whilst optimizing operational efficiency. We then move to the body of the business case document, establishing the need. Here we state our problem, and you might recall this from the previous slide as well. So we give a background. We say the current data challenges include fragmented customer data, and this is dispersed across various systems. This is causing inefficient marketing efforts, and stock in the inventory is being mismanaged. Give some examples to prove your point. 30% of customers receive generic promotions that are not targeted and not personalized. They do not resonate, resulting in lost sales opportunities. Also, inventory costs are inflated by 25% because of inaccurate demand forecasting. And this is hugely problematic from an operational perspective. So we then propose a solution saying that we're going to implement a unified customer data platform. We're going to conduct data integration and cleaning. We're going to develop predictive analytics models for customer behavior and inventory needs so that our forecasting is better and we personalize and target our campaigns as well. What resources do we need? We need data analysts, software developers, and we will need support from the IT infrastructure. We also need cloud-based customer analytics software, so maybe we need some licenses. The technologies required are that we need to integrate the CRM, the point of sale, and e-commerce data into a single platform. We will also bring in machine learning algorithms for demand forecasting. This brings us to the final subsection of establishing the need, which is measuring success. So we identify the KPIs and the metrics, which we've already mentioned, but we are more specific here. We say We're going to increase customer engagement metrics, for instance, open rates of targeted emails. We can work on drip sequences. Copywriters can write better sequences of emails that incentivize the customers to open every email because they're getting something out of it. And by the end of perhaps the 7th or the 9th email, they are more amenable, more likely to buy that product. The second one would be reduction in inventory holding costs. So we bring a metric related to that, and then improvement in sales forecasting accuracy by 20%. And this could be a number of things, and it depends on what project it is that you're working on, what the priorities of the business are. We then move to the second section of the body, which is ROI. So benefits in ROI, we state the potential benefits here, that we're going to improve data quality, we're going to make the customer insights more accurate, the real-time analytics will make decision-making faster. Our initial work has shown that we can quantify an impact, that there's an expected 15% increase in sales because of targeted marketing. We'll do 10% cost savings on inventory because of properly managed stock and forecasting. And based on this, we expect an ROI of 200% within the first 12 months. And we're factoring in increased revenue and cost savings to calculate that. The cost breakdown for this solution is that we need $70,000 for the software. We need around $60,000 for the team of data analysts and software developers. And we'll also need to train and implement the solution that's going to cost another $20,000. And this investment is justified because of the potential revenue growth and the cost savings, as we see an ROI of 200% within the first 12 months. Also, we need to take into account the long-term maintenance costs, which are estimated at $30,000 per annum every year. We also highlight the risks to say data privacy is a risk because a risk of non-compliance with data regulations, and we mitigate this by actually introducing robust data governance practices. Technical limitations in this case, there's potential integration challenges. The kind of software and legacy software that is part of the stack in the organization will have to make sure that this integrates with the new solution so data flows seamlessly through the organization. For this, we need to conduct a thorough technology assessment before implementation. Finally, we have the implementation plan. We say that the first phase of the timeline is 3 months. We'll be doing the assessment and technology selection. The second phase will be another 3 months where we'll do the data integration and implement the platform. And finally, the last 3 months, we will do testing and training. So that's a total of 9 months. The roles, we identify a project manager will need to oversee the project. Data analysts will do the integration and analysis. The IT team will handle the technical implementation. And resource allocation, we need to make sure that we have all of the staff and the technology resources allocated throughout the 9 months in order to make sure that this project is a success. Now, this is quite a lengthy business case. So let's look at another example template, which will allow us to present a very brief and succinct executive summary in a presentation style to the leadership and potential sponsors. So here we see a single slide business case template where we perhaps just have some boxes where we are presenting existing revenue in percentage and losses in percentage and potential gains. What are the value drivers we're focusing on? Whether our initial work in a proof of concept has met the targets based on which we're calculating ROI and potential gains. So let's look at another example. In this case, we're going to be calling this fraud detection enhancement as the project. We report that we have seen 96.3% genuine transactions in some fictional bank. On a daily basis, we see more than 2 million transactions are conducted. And when we look at this per annum, let's say these are arbitrary figures, that we have an $80 million worth of genuine transactions happening, and an additional $3.12 million per annum is lost to fraudulent transactions, which make up 3.7% of the total number of transactions that are occurring. This bank already has a fraud detection system in place, which is using rules, and they have a fraud analysts team of about 25 people, so it's a big setup. The software licenses for the various software stack to input the rules and update them and annotate the transactions is costing them close to $50,000 or $45,000 a year. So the bank wants to essentially use a more sophisticated fraud detection system, because at the moment only 0.8% being captured. This is 21.6% of the fraud out of the 3.7%. So there's a pressing need to capture over 73% of our fraud because there's a mandate that the bank needs to reduce their fraudulent transactions percentage down to below 1%. So the bank is interested in enhancing the rules-based system with machine learning and assist the fraud analysts team to bring the state of practice from 20% precision up to 50% or above, reduce the fraudulent transactions from 3.7% to below 1%, and we need to create a business case for it showing our solution is going to solve this problem. So on the right hand side we see the value drivers. We say we're going to be looking at three things. We'll do an improvement on your alerts precision. If you have a 20% alerts precision right now, which essentially means that for every 100 alerts on fraudulent transactions that are generated by the rule-based system, only 20 are actually fraud. So we need to improve this to over 50%. Also, the fraud recall is 22%, as we saw is 21.6%, only 0.8% of the 3.7%. And we need to increase this to 73% so that we're actually capturing out of the 3.7% more than 2.7% to bring the fraud rate down to below 1. We then say that we've taken, thanks to the bank, a sample data set and built a POC which is meeting the target, and we can say based on these results that we can potentially prevent your fraud for over $2.27 million per annum. Our solution is going to cost you $550,000. The minimum viable product will be operational in 6 months with you. The first 6 months after the MVP is operational, you will have a return on investment of 127%. And the first year after the MVP is operational, this is actually an ROI of 356%. So final thoughts: building a strong business case for data and analytics requires understanding the needs of the stakeholders and the business. You need to assess ROI, you need to make sure that you identify the risks and you mitigate those, and you present a very concise, a very comprehensive at the same time business case document that covers everything. Perhaps you begin these conversations by just creating a single slide, that template that we've seen, because you socialize that, present it to the right stakeholders, and when you have some approvals and interest, maybe you can go on to writing a more detailed document, which is the first template that we saw.